Hey guys, I'm IzDaisho and I'm here bringing you some magic. This is going to be the finals from this draft, and it is a Selesnya versus Selesnya match. And if you remember back to from the draft, I had a second pick of Call of the Conclave, Annihilating Fire, or a Dead Reveler, I believe. And I ended up going with the Call of the Conclave because I didn't want to be in contention with the person next to me for to my left for red or black, so I decided to just go green-white. Turns out that the person to my right had first picked a card that was in Selesnya. I'm not going to give it away yet. You'll see it later on in this match. But anyway, a really good Selesnya card, and he was hoping that I would take either the Dead Reveler or the Annihilating Fire, and then when I took the Call of the Conclave, it just completely ruined him. But, it turns out that we both made it to the finals, so obviously our decks were both pretty good. The thing that you need to know about Selesnya before watching this game is that it is just completely full of combat tricks, and when you're playing against or with a Selesnya deck, you really just need to realize that your opponent and both you and your opponent are going to have tons of combat tricks. So when they make an attack that doesn't really make much sense, then you should try to play around something. So when I swung in with my Dryad Militant into his Centaur and his Knight, I was expecting him to just block with the Knight because he didn't want to lose his Centaur. Centaurs are really useful because you want to be able to populate them. Knights really aren't that good to populate, so I expected him to just do that, and then he didn't end up blocking. So that was pretty interesting. I thought he would, but he didn't. And the reason why I made the attack is because the Dryad Militant was basically completely useless for me. So if I did lose it and he did call my prediction, then it really wasn't too bad. And I just wanted to take the Knight off the board. I didn't really care about getting the 2 damage in. But now I decided to just attack with my Centaur healer, which is also, it's just a little bit strange that I decided to make those attacks. If I was committing to having a pump spell, then I should have attacked with both. But either way, he decides not to block it. So anyway, or does he decide not to? Yeah, I don't think he decides to block it here, which is pretty good. So anyway, I guess I don't really know what I was thinking about there, or maybe he was thinking, maybe he just decided to not do anything. Oh, because he had an Eyes in the Sky, so what he could have done was made a Centaur and a bird and then just blocked. But he decided not to do that, and for some reason here he decides to make more birds, which also confused me because I just completely expected him to be making a Centaur right now. The Armory Guard was pretty good because he's going to need to have some sort of pump spell in order to get through it. Since it's a 2/5, and he can only even attack with his Centaur. Like if he had made another Centaur, he could have attacked with both, but then I could have just traded my Dryad Militant off for 1 Centaur, and then taken 3, and then the next turn started to be okay. But anyway, he's going to attack me with these birds, and obviously, if he wasn't going to, the reason he made the birds is so he could get in some damage pretty quickly. But he doesn't have another play here. He's on, what is that? Is that 5 lands right now? Yeah, 5. He's got 1 with Security Blockade, 2 plains, and 2 forests, and then the forest Security Blockades on the forest. So now I'm going to decide to attack with my Centaur Healer and my Dryad Militant. So my opponent really doesn't know what's going on, but for whatever reason, he just decides to make that block. I think it would have been really bad for him if I had a Common Bond here, because I would have been able to win the Centaur combat and then put another one on like my Armory Guard or something like that, so Centaur could never get through again. But in the end, I don't have anything. I don't have any Common Bonds. I think I only had like 1 Giant Growth in my deck or something like that. But anyway, I'm going to play a Rollback Rhino, and I think that puts me in pretty good position. I mean, all he's got is 2 birds, and I have an Armory Guard and a Rollback Rhino, so I'm definitely looking pretty good here right now. But he's just going to attack me with 2 birds and then pass the turn back. So, I mean, I don't really have that much power on the board, even though I have a 4-drop and a 5-drop, which is unfortunate because they're both pretty underpowered. But I do get in for 4 damage here, and that is definitely going to work out in my favor. Plus, I'm able to play a Selesnya Sentry into a Wayfaring Temple, so now I've actually got a ton of power on the board. And if I had this the turn before, I don't know how that would have happened, but then I would be in really good shape. But now he accidentally makes a mistake and flips his hand up, and he puts a Chorus of Might into play. But he really meant to to play a Centaur healer. He decides not to attack here, and to be honest, showing me the Course of Might really just screwed me up a bunch, because now I just don't know what to attack with, because I know whatever I attack with, he can just Course of Might, pump, and kill it. Sorry about that, that was a Facebook noise on my end. I hate it when that happens, especially when I'm watching other people's videos and they're like, and they make those Facebook noises, and I'm like, oh, I got a Facebook message, I'm so happy. And then it's just not actually the case, because whatever. So anyway, this game is getting to a point where it's really interesting, because I can attack with all my creatures here, but if I do, then there's a good chance that one of them just dies. And I really don't know what my opponent has in his deck, so I don't know like if my late game's better or if his late game's better, so I'm just kind of waiting. If I attack with one thing, he can just block with his Centaur's Herald, and he could block with his Centaur's Herald and then just sacrifice it. But anyway, I'm going to decide to play a Drudge Beetle here, and he can't, I don't really think that there's any way that he can kill my Wayfaring Temple. I guess he could double block, yeah, he would have to double block with his birds and Chorus of Might one of them, and then they would trade, so then that would be a 2-for-1 in my favor, so that would be fine. But he decides to just block and sacrifice his Centaur's Herald. He's not too worried about my Wayfaring Temple, and unfortunately he draws his first pick right there, which is a Collective Blessing. So that is that's going to change the game a little bit. I think I went from being way ahead, which is why I was being more conservative with my attack, to actually being way behind. Or not, maybe not way behind, but definitely behind. He still can't like go all out aggressive here and like attack with both of his birds, because then he will just like die to all the creatures that I've got on the battlefield. Just because I have so many like medium power creatures. I guess if he just blocked my Wayfaring Temple next turn, then I could get in for 2, 5, 6, 7, 10, but -1. So I'd be able to get in for 9 and only lose 1 creature. So maybe he could have attacked with 1 bird here, but it was definitely safer to just leave everything back. And then the best attack that I can actually get in is just 3 damage. So I'm just going to decide to attack with my Wayfaring Temple here. So right now it's a 5/5, and I think he's going to double block with a Centaur and a bird. And that was just a good play on his part. He could have just blocked with the Centaur, but there's really, I mean, there is some downside to blocking with the bird, because if I don't have anything, then you lose a bird instead of losing nothing. But it plays around Giant Growth really, really well, which is the card that I just drew. So after thinking for a while, my opponent makes a really good play and double blocks with the bird and the Centaur. He knows that he can't be taking damage right here, and if he loses that Centaur and he doesn't draw anything, then he's not in good shape. So he knows that he needs to kill the Wayfaring Temple now, even if I have a pump spell, and then that's going to put him in a much better position. So he does end up making the right block, and he double blocks. And now I'm just like, well, I could use this Giant Growth to kill the Centaur, or I could just kill the bird. I really don't know which one was right. I think I should not have played the Giant Growth here. I think I should have just accepted the trade for the bird, and actually not, because I didn't end up killing both the bird and the Centaur. All I did was trade off for the Centaur instead of the bird. So I don't think that was worth the Giant Growth, especially since I could have just Giant Growth the creature later to kill the Centaur, although only one of my 3-power creatures would have been able to do that. But either way, I mean, I think that would have been better, because then I could start attacking with like my Selesnya Sentry. I don't know. I decided to just attack with the Drudge Beetle here, because if I can get the 2 damage in, or if I can get the Scavenge on him on my Rubbleback Rhino, then I'll be in pretty good shape. But he just decides to take it and activate his Security Blockade, so that's not great for me. Definitely not in good shape. But I mean, the game's definitely not over. I think, Keening Apparition's main deck. But anyway, he decides to attack with one of his birds here, taking me down to 13. I mean, when you're playing against multiple 4/4 flyers, it's hard to deal with. And then he's going to play another Sunspire Griffin here. So right now I know he still has that Course of Might in hand, so I'm actually just dead on board. It's pretty risky for him to just all-out swing and Course of Might. But at this point in the game, I was thinking of just conceding, because I knew he could win the game. But that's just something that I actually wanted to talk about a bunch, because it's kind of like a bad way to think about the game. Just because I can be dead doesn't mean that I actually am dead. So he could swing in for 12 and then Course of Might and then kill me. But I might have a Draconic Judgment in hand, and if I do that, and then he's in terrible, terrible shape. because then I can Tristani's Judgment the creature he Mites and then swing back for lethal, probably. But here I actually do make a mistake. So once I tap 5 mana, there's very few cards that I actually can have that can prevent me from winning the game, or prevent him from winning the game. So I think by tapping all but 2 white, I limited it to just mainboard Sundering Growth. And that's definitely pretty bad. I don't think that there's another card in Return to Ravnica that I actually could have had. If I had left the green up, then it would leave it to not just mainboard Sundering Growth, but it could also have been Druid's Deliverance, which is actually a reasonable main deck card. He hasn't seen so many different cards that are main deckable. Yeah, he hasn't seen so many cards that are that make populate. He hasn't seen so many cards that make tokens which I can populate, which would make sense to put a Druid's Deliverance in. Sorry, I don't know why that took me so long to say. But anyway, he's going to attack me with 2 birds right now, taking me down to 5 life, and I'm not really going to appreciate that too much. But anyway, I mean, I needed to draw something here. I don't know if there was any card in my deck that could actually help me. If I were somehow able to kill his blocker, then maybe, but I don't really know if there's any way that I could have done that. But in the end, he's just going to be able to win this game. So that was a really long and a really close game, and my opponent played it really well. So I think that he definitely deserved this game. But there is going to be another one, and you will see how I'm able to do in that one. So in just a second, I realize he's just going to block here and then swing in for lethal the next turn. So I'm going to scoop it up. So I hope you guys all enjoyed this video, and have a wonderful day. Bye.